Hey, I'm Travis.
And I'm Adele, and our channel is all about helping couples in all seasons of marriage.
We hope you enjoy our channel and follow along this journey.
Hey friends, welcome back to our channel. We are going over one of our comments that we've received today, and we just want to say thank you for sending us your questions that you have about what you're walking through in your marriage, because we want to answer your questions. We want to be there to support you. So this is one of the questions that we received on Instagram, where you can also send us questions and comments.
Yeah, I love this question. It really made us think about a lot deeper around this. So here's the question. How do you know your spouse has been completely honest about everything? How do you know your spouse has been completely honest about everything? I imagine you really wanted to know if I was being honest about everything that my secrets.
I did. It was consuming my thoughts.
It would be a reasonable question to ask, how do you know that your spouse has been completely honest about everything? That's a very reasonable question.
Yeah, and it really hit home for me too, because in our story, Travis wasn't completely honest at first. And so I got to experience what it was like to have disclosure that wasn't everything. And then 1 month later, boom, a volcano erupts and I find out more. Yeah. And even in that small amount of time, that 1 month, we had already started working on building trust. So when that came crushing down, wow, I questioned everything at that point. And so
I'm sure that you relate to that.
I get the question completely.
Yeah, that trust bridge, it reminds me of these bridges that you build with, not Q-tips. Toothpick bridge. You build it with glue and you put everything together. And it's not like your lack of being honest just removes one of the toothpicks. It's like it got crushed completely. All the trust completely gone out of your relationship. And that has to be built back again and again and again. And it takes steps to build, and it can destroy that.
I really had to get to the place to understand, you know what? If he is being honest or not being honest, that is not my burden to carry. And it is a burden.
Yeah.
If your spouse has not been completely transparent with you and there are still secrets hidden in the back door, the enemy will use that, and he will bring it out in your marriage later on. That's what he wants to destroy the marriage. And so if your spouse is choosing that path of not being transparent, that is a heavy burden that they are carrying. And I had to just release it to God of, you know what, God, it's not my burden to carry on whether or not he is being truthful and honest. And I'm giving this over to you because I don't want to carry that,
Yeah.
And it was so releasing to me. And my prayer for Travis became about, Lord, if his heart is not being honest, please bring out the truth. Like, I want the truth out because I want to start a very firm foundation for our marriage. And you can't build a marriage on top of secrets. So if you've had betrayal in the marriage and there are still secrets and you're working on your marriage, it is like on sand. And it's going to take hardly anything at all to come blow that back over. And the enemy knows that. And so he wants your spouse who betrayed you to keep those secrets and nobody find out. And that way he can use that again in the future.
Man, you're talking about these secrets, and I'm having all these memories flood back into my mind about my secrets, and secrets made me sick.
And not just you.
Secrets made me sick, and they're going to make you sick. They're going to make your spouse sick. If there's secrets being held, it affects me. It affects my relationships around me. And it really is difficult to have intimacy. It's difficult to have emotional intimacy and physical intimacy when there's secrets in the background. And as you're talking, I'm just remembering like what it was like for us. And I had this thought, Adele, that the things I've done in my past, I wanted to go to my grave with you never finding out about them. I would have wanted nothing to do with you ever finding out about these things I've done in my past. And I'm sure you relate to this conversation. I'm sure that, if you have secrets in your life or betrayal in your life, you can relate to exactly what I'm saying. It's not always the men. that do this. It's both men and women have secrets, and both men and women have this brokenness in us that we need to try to fill with things, because we're all looking for God. Yeah, we're all looking to fill that void with something. And there's something to secrets, Adele, that I actually like to keep them.
Oh, it's like a rush. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's actually a physiological thing that happens in the brain that it gives this dopamine rush.
Yeah,
And it's something that is thrilling and exciting to have a secret.
it is.
I used to say things like, I always have to have at least one secret from somebody because it was like this thrilling little thing that nobody else knew.
Right.
But what's so interesting about secrets is it keeps you from being known. And it keeps you from having intimacy in your marriage and connecting emotionally, because those secrets they're not going to allow you to have that intimacy, because there's a darkness there that you have to conceal and hide. And so when a spouse has not been honest, that is the behavior that you'll see is deceitfulness, still hiding, still not being totally transparent, blaming, excuses.
These are
Don't
great.
tell anyone. I don't want anybody to know. Those are the kind of behaviors that typically when a spouse has not been transparent, that is the behavior that they show.
Yeah, that don't tell anyone thing, that's another secret. That you're right. That is one of those, because man, we are married and I did do this horrible, nasty thing, and I don't want anybody out there knowing I did that. So
Right.
will you just suffer in silence?
Right.
Personal responsibility was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And it is personally responsible when I decide to take and tell you, hey, here's what I did. I definitely have not been my best self, and these are the things I did, and this is the discovery. And I get rid of those secrets. Now, that's another video for another time about what happens in that whole thing where I've dumped all my stuff onto you. But it is important for me to get rid of those secrets, to let those things out, and to share how I have been either unfaithful or just missing the mark in our marriage, and then a recommitment of who I am going to show up to be. What you're going to want to see as a spouse is that my actions line up with my words, like who it is I'm committed to being. And I need to know who that is going to be. Like, I need to know who I'm committed to being. But my actions have to line up with my words consistently. There's a consistency to it. And that's where you build your trust. That's where you start to say, oh, okay, he's saying he's doing this, and his actions are lining up. He's coming home when he said he's going to be coming home. He's not talking to the people that he said he's not going to talk to. He did whatever it is that we agreed in our boundaries that he's going to do. Wow, he is doing the work.
Yeah, and I think sometimes there is a spouse who really is like, I am ready for change, and here everything is out. I've been transparent, and they don't know what integrity even looks like, or
Yeah.
how to be in integrity. So, it's kind of a fine line where that's something you really need to trust to the Lord, that the Lord is going to work all those details out. Because while Travis was showing certain actions and behaviors in that first month, you were much different after the real full disclosure.
Yeah.
So, and I'll also pop a link in here where we did a video on discovery versus disclosure and how to actually disclose. And that's an excellent video. If you do have secrets that you have not shared with your spouse, you need to share them.
Yeah.
It's so vitally important for the health of your marriage. If you want to stay married, the secrets will destroy it. It will. They always come out. And the longer you actually keep secrets in from your spouse, the more energy it takes to keep it stuffed down, to the point where eventually it erupts like a volcano over everyone, destroying so many lives. Versus getting it out, sharing with your spouse in a really safe environment, and maybe you need a third person there to help you navigate. wow, it's a whole lot less damage. It's still damage. There's still a lot of hurt there, but you can heal together through the honesty of sharing, which is so important.
Yeah, it is.
The other thing I would recommend is pray for your husband. Pray for his heart. Pray that the Lord work in his heart and convict him to share the things that need to be shared. And, I really since then have been praying over Travis's heart and protection from evil, from the enemy, from his eyes, his ears, because I want to be the one that's really covering him in prayer. And if you're in the position where your spouse has left and you don't even know if they're coming back, it doesn't mean you have to give up. You can still pray for him. You can still pray that the Lord work in his heart. And we have a video by Brad and Lisa with Unrelenting Pursuit. We'll put a link here for that. Their story is a story about a spouse who left and wasn't coming back, and God brought him back to the marriage. And it was a miracle that happened. And it is a beautiful story of hope. If that is you and your spouse has left and they don't want to be in the marriage anymore, it doesn't mean that God's done. God can still work miracles in what looks like impossible situations.
So let's recap. The question was, how do we know if our spouse has been completely honest or transparent? And we talked about how that is a burden that you don't need to carry. The burden of whether that person has completely shared honestly or not, that is something we can give over to God. That is his battle, not yours. And we can pray. We can pray for that our spouse. We can pray that God will open up their heart, open up their mind, their eyes, their ears, that there will be a transforming in their heart that will lead them back into truth instead of listening to the lies that Satan tells us, that we should keep those secret. And then look for your spouse's actions. Look for the good intention of your spouse and how their actions line up with their words. And have good conversation with your spouse about that.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us today. And did you know, I looked at our statistics the other day.
Tell me.
80% of the people watching are not subscribed.
You guys aren't subscribed?
And
What?
did you know that by subscribing and hitting the thumbs up, you're telling YouTube that more people should see this channel, more people should see this video. And so that is how you can support our ministry to marriages, is by subscribing and giving us a thumbs up. And of course, we always love your comments. They fill us up so much.
Thank you for those. Thank you so much. We love those.
And just a little quick update. It's been really fun to watch as our subscribers have gone up. And this morning it was at 780. And it just fills our heart so much that 780 of you really love our content because you're sharing, you're telling us about that. And so it is so exciting for us to see that more marriages are hearing what the Lord wants them to hear around healing in their marriage. So thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks for joining us, friends. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.